So recently, the Denver Broncos traded for Teddy Bridgewater, the former New Orleans Saints quarterback, the former Minnesota Vikings quarterback, and from this past season, he played for the Carolina Panthers. They've traded for Teddy Bridgewater. They gave him a 6th-round pick. And if Teddy Bridgewater turns into a functional starting quarterback with the Broncos, that's a pretty good deal considering that they gave him a 6th-round pick. However, I will say, if Denver was going to trade for a potential quarterback, they should have traded for Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is a franchise quarterback. He's very accurate. He's played really good football despite being put in a horrible situation in Jacksonville. Right now, today, Gardner Minshew might be the most underrated quarterback in all football. So, if I were the Broncos, I would have seriously considered going after Gardner Minshew. But hey, they went after Teddy Bridgewater. He's one of the few quarterbacks left on the market. I understand why they did it, okay? Now, what does this mean for the Denver Broncos? What does this mean for Drew Lock? This tells me the Denver Broncos are not completely sold on Drew Lock because when you look at some of the other young quarterbacks in football right now, Daniel Jones with the New York Giants. The Giants haven't brought any quarterback in to compete with Daniel Jones. They've allowed him to be the guy, okay, going forward. Sam Darnold, the Carolina Panthers just traded for him. They let Teddy Bridgewater go. There's not going to be a quarterback competition unless Carolina drafts a quarterback, and I doubt they will, at least in the 1st round. And Kyler Murray, we know he's special. No one's challenging him, okay? So, the Denver Broncos, if they were sold on Drew Lock, they wouldn't have made this move. They're going to make this a real quarterback competition. And I don't know who's going to win this competition, but I think that Teddy Bridgewater has the slight advantage over Drew Lock because here's the thing. The current head coach for the Denver Broncos is Vic Fangio. And what is Vic Fangio known for? He's known for his defense. And defensive-minded head coaches, you know what they hate? They hate quarterbacks that make mistakes. Okay, Nick Saban, Ron Rivera, those guys, they don't like quarterbacks that make mistakes. And Drew Lock, the book is out on him. He's not very accurate. He stares down wide receivers. He'll throw bad interceptions. He'll make bad decisions. And he makes way too many mistakes, okay? And a big reason why the Denver Broncos underperformed last year was because Drew Lock was not a very good starting quarterback, okay? Now, another thing that we need to point out is that's with a good roster around Drew Lock. Does Denver have one of the 10 best rosters in all football? I say no, but they still have a talented football team. They've got good wide receivers. They've got a solid offensive line. They've got a solid defense. Pat Shurmur, to me, is one of the best play callers in all football as far as being an offensive coordinator. Drew Lock was holding this team back. And I will say, the thing that Teddy Bridgewater does is he's going to be a reliable option. You know what you're going to get week to week with Teddy Bridgewater. Week to week, you don't know what you're going to get with Drew Lock. And maybe Drew Lock takes a huge leap this offseason. I'm rooting for Drew Lock. I was a huge fan of what Drew Lock brought to the table at Missouri. I felt he was worthy of a top 10 pick when he was coming out of Missouri. I felt he was going to be the future of the Broncos. So I'm rooting for Drew Lock. And there are reports that he's been working with Peyton Manning this offseason watching film. That's awesome. But Drew Lock has to go out there and prove this year once and for all he's that guy. Not only does he have to win the starting job, he has to go out there and play well and keep that starting job because if he goes on a slump or for about 3 or 4 straight games, Vic Fangio's not going to tolerate that. Vic Fangio is potentially on the hot seat. So in order to save his job, he's not going to put his faith in Drew Lock. He's going to put his faith in Teddy Bridgewater, a veteran quarterback that doesn't make mistakes. Okay? Now, whether Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock is the starter for this Broncos team, I don't think they're a playoff team this year. You look at Kansas City, you look at the Chargers, you look at the Raiders. It's a very competitive division. I would say right now the Chargers are a very underrated team. I could see the Chiefs and Chargers making the playoffs this year, especially if Justin Herbert continues to get better and better. Not to mention you still got Cleveland, you still got Buffalo, Baltimore, Indianapolis, the Patriots. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC. I think Denver falls just short of being a playoff team, but this year needs to be about figuring out who's the quarterback of the future for the Broncos? Is it Teddy Bridgewater? Is it Drew Lock? Or is it a potential future draft pick? That's what Denver is going to have to figure out this year. And I will say, if they get good quarterback play, they could be a playoff team year in and year out because this roster is pretty talented. But that's how I feel about Teddy Bridgewater going to the Broncos. Those are my thoughts right there.
Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juiciest Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juiciest Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.